Welcome, everybody, to the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate some of our favorites in TV and film. Once again, I'm your host, Xavier, and today I am joined by my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists to talk about a movie we all saw sort of on our own, but we wanted to really talk about because it's a little bit original, not something kind of franchise based. And it's got what I like to think is probably one of like the top tier actors so far within this sort of like generation of this decade. If you think you know what movie I'm talking about and you didn't see the title when you're listening to this episode, um, here's a hint. It Batman and Twilight. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so with that as a little bit of a hint, it's a movie that we were all collectively excited for so many various reasons. But it's a little sci-fi story from the director of Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, called Mickey 17. And so I'm joined once again by Anthony, Danny, and Zach, and we're going to lead a little discussion about some of our thoughts, what's the movie about, and what we took from it, and some of the kind of fun things to look out for. So spoilers abound, but from here, I'll let the boys introduce themselves.
Hello.
What's going on?
How's it going?
How's it going?
Original.
It's
original.
Yeah. Very. I think at this point, Anthony is probably all soundboards.
Yeah, we need to do a soundboard.
How's it going?
Just one more. It says, "How's it going?"
Hi.
It's all soundboard. Popcorn watch the soundboards. No, that's hilarious. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I know. Collectively, the four of us were excited to talk about Mickey 17. But before we kind of go really into the things we really liked and some of the key points that we wanted to run down, a couple of little facts that I'll let Danny kind of run down. Danny, just hit us with some of the facts.
Yep. So we'll start with I guess we'll do like the casting here. Well, we got Robert Pattinson, obviously. Batman and Twilight. This guy's having a crazy career after Twilight. Oh, yeah. Love it. We have Naomi Aki, Stephen Young, Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, and obviously this is the director from Parasite, which not sure how to say his name right, but Bong Joon-ho.
Yeah. All right. I didn't mean to, stock over. Go ahead.
No worries, but we got it. But he was the director, producer, and writer of the film. So
yeah,
cool.
He took the original concept from the original book Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton and kind of adapted it to the screen. So I thought that was really cool. And he already does that a lot. With a lot of his stuff, it's going to be kind of original or kind of take the inspiration and do it on its own. Like he did that with Snowpiercer, which that was really the movie that kind of put him on the map for me. Was Snowpiercer. Like that was nuts. Like the conceit and the premise, like, oh, it's kind of out of hand, but like the way it was written and the fact that it was like these like at the time big like Hollywood names, like kind of putting in sort of like a Hollywood production with being trusted with as a director, with Bong Joon-ho as the director. Incredible stuff.
So Xavier, you might remember this from back in our FIU days, but I definitely showed this movie while we were at FIU. It's called The Host. Do you remember watching it?
I don't think I was there that day, which really sucks because that movie.
So he also directed that and wrote it. So I didn't know that until like a few years ago. So I was like, oh man, so it's like another movie of his that I definitely enjoyed, and that's from 2006. So pretty old.
Yeah,
I would recommend that one too. It's pretty cool.
That was like a weird like Korean like monster movie.
Yeah, very very low budget Korean monster movie, but very fun.
Yeah. The dude, like, honestly, like he's a really really great director. Like based like being able to communicate his vision to create a film like that kind of like can handle various different like tones. Like Parasite had like a lot of like some of the the darker humor and like the sad poignant drama, some of like the chilling scary stuff going on too. Like there's just it's like it balances in a way that's different from like most directors in Hollywood. I don't know, like maybe I'm just biased on it based off from what the stuff we've seen before, but um he's just extremely talented. So that's why like him create adapting this, having Robert Pattinson in it, especially with like Danny said, that Robert Pattinson's kind of going like creating over years, just creating so much range. It's incredible. So I was really like I was in like the hype was there to watch this.
Yeah, and then I guess going on through some of the other facts here, we have the budget, which was 120 million, but then also in some other areas it does say it's even gotten to possibly 180 million, so somewhere around there. And then box office wise worldwide right now it's sitting at a 92.2 million.
Yeah,
so kind of does
lower than
see
what we
if it
expect.
reaches it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lower than what we would like, but uh here's like it's that's one of those where I don't know if the movie's gonna grow another set of legs, or in this case an entire body of extra like stuff beyond the couple weeks, but it's at least for those who have gone out and seen it, I don't think like there is it doesn't go unappreciated. It's not like glowing reviews, but at least like people who I know saw it found it enjoyable. They liked it different than kind of a little what they expected. Some people expected like some stuff, and we'll get into later on, but they came out pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and with you said or Danny, the original or like the possible budget was how much again?
120.
120. Okay. Yeah, because I mean I'm seeing 118 also, but 180 is kind of insane actually. Like that's a big jump.
Like
That's probably for
180.
marketing
That's with marketing.
purposes.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
could be. I mean, I don't know if maybe the budget I'm looking at is just purely like what was spent to produce the movie rather than like all the other marketing stuff afterwards.
I think that's
But
also just estimations because usually they estimate the marketing is like half of the budget. So if the budget's around 120, then add another 60 million. So that's probably where they get the 180 estimation.
it could be, yeah. That's
I
such a
mean, that
big
makes
difference,
sense,
though.
but damn.
But I mean, to be honest though, I don't think they marketed it pretty, all that well. That's probably one of the reasons why it's not making that much money. Because, like you said, I think overall it's getting, pretty okay reviews. I don't think it's getting that many people saying that it's horrible or anything like that. So if it's a decent to good movie to most people, then more people should watch it. And I think that's just like a failure on on the marketing campaign.
well, also remember, it wasn't it that this movie got delayed.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder like why they decided to push it back, or was there something that wasn't mixed, that was missing, that didn't work?
Well, I think part of it had to do with the strikes last year, but I believe it got delayed by a year or almost a year. So it had a pretty hefty delay, but even still, like even let's say they didn't have this delay and it was supposed to come out, I don't remember, let's say early last year or last summer, if they still showed these same trailers for it, like obviously the trailers that they made for it did not convey properly what I guess they needed to show to audiences. So I don't know, but yeah, it's that 92 million right now is a little rough. That Warner Bros is gonna have to eat this one.
Yeah, it's one of those like, hey, we invested the money for the, hopefully they did it for the art. Take one for the team, Warner Brothers. Get rid of some other content that's not Looney Tunes. Oh wait, too late.
Yikes.
Yikes, indeed. But here's hoping Superman. Some of the Superman box office helps recoup Mickey 17. But anyway, we're talking about this like, hey, like Anthony already mentioned, it's kind of pretty good. But I'll leave it open to you guys. Like overall, like what did you guys like? We talk about like the premise of the movie. It's basically about a guy who signs up really down on his luck, got nothing going really for him, and so he signs up to be what's known as an expendable on a colonizing trip to another planet, where he basically gets set up to do a whole bunch of really terrible, like low life expectancy jobs, and also like basically test out exposures of space and disease and other really scary outside of the ship stuff, all for the sake of science and the colony. But it's pretty it's all this whole like story is done through the perspective of the 17th Mickey. So it kind of starts at the beginning, and then he kind of recaps how he got here, how it's basically it's always something up with loan sharks, especially like I feel like again with Bong Joon-ho's stuff in Korea. Like a lot, I've seen like a lot of Korean stories like involve like loan sharks in general, and how those guys are just gonna find a ways to get their pound of flesh back. So he decides, well, I got nothing for me, and there's a death threat, so I'm gonna go sign up to be an expendable, and basically becomes sort of like the backbone for the entire expedition. And all of it again is narrated by Robert Pattinson, is in number 17's voice. Like it's great. It's like I don't know how you guys can describe it, but it's like this sort of like kind of down on his luck, but kind of like ordinary, like average, like kind of like not sad, but he's kind of like, well, I guess we'll get along with it, but like in this like very like just really manipulated voice, but that's all done through acting. Like there's no sound effects or anything. Like that's all Bobby Pat here. Like it's really good.
I know as soon as I heard his voice in the beginning of the movie, I was like, what is this? I'm so confused.
Dude, I loved it. I was just like, oh, okay.
He's doing all these crazy voices like in The Boy and the Heron.
The Boy and the Heron? Yeah.
I still know people to this day were just like, I'm sorry, he was who? And yeah, that was insane.
Not the boy.
He was the heron.
I told Danny. Oh no, go ahead, Danny.
No, I was gonna say, and then he also did like different voices in this one too, kind of.
Yeah.
But just the main one, I was like, oh my god.
Because I told Danny like towards the or after the movie, I guess I was like, he kind of sounded like, or he kind of did like a Steve Buscemi kind of voice a little bit. Because there are times where I'm like, he really sounds like Steve Buscemi. I don't think that's what he was going for, but it sounded very, very much like
kinda. I can kind of hear it, yeah.
But like more. I mean, the character being just like kind of awkward and quirky, that kind of mixed in there.
Yeah, but it's also like in a sense that like it's very empathetic, so you kind of like want to root for the guy, and I think that's obviously on purpose. Like it's such a like I wanted to go in and like find out what he did to find Mickey's voice specifically, but that was really cool. Like it was a really cool way to like kind of bring that out and add to the character. At the same time, like he's gets joined by his like longtime quote unquote friend, Timo, played by Steven Yeun, who's also been having a wild, like crazy, awesome, like career trajectory post Walking Dead. Like the dude is doing amazing work. He's been in a lot of critically acclaimed stuff. And
also most recently Invincible too.
Oh yeah, no, he's got that steady going on with Invincible. But yeah, but he was amazing in Minari. Nope, I forgot he's also in Okja, so he's worked with Bong Joon-ho before. And like it's just, and also yeah, like in Beef, like he's insane in that. So it's
yeah.
you got some top tier people in this one too. So like the whole expedition is set up by like former like failed politician and populist and I guess white supremacist as well, Kenneth Marshall. So he and his wife are pretty insane, and they're just like the ones like, oh, everyone's on like a calorie count. Like we're gonna reduce your calories if you're like if you're not playing ball with your food or like keeping in ration while they're having like crazy meals and all this other stuff and just being really having this opulence in their master quarters on the ship.
And what are they having with their meals?
Sauce.
Oh my god, sauce.
Like that's her whole character is just like obsessed with sauce.
Just sauce.
A staple of civilization is by sauce. Oh my god! Like, and then like it's crazy because
two are so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's great. Like just kind of like going through like feigning the things of we're like the best people, but it turns out no, they're pretty garbage. Mark Ruffalo, like whatever teeth inserts he had to put in that, like it was like I still haven't seen Warm Bodies, but I've heard it's like that his character Warm Bodies, but cranked up to like 11. I guess in terms of the mannerisms and the way he spoke, but it's pretty out of hand. I don't like. It's just like it's an interesting. I like the premise, from a science fiction standpoint, and how like, oops, because of stuff going on, like the whole plot becomes like, Mickey 17 got stuck in this cave, and they think he's dead, but he actually gets out of the cave and he gets back to the ship that's landing on the colony, and surprise, they already cloned another version of him because they assumed he was dead. Or actually, Timo assumed he was dead because he's like, oh, that's as far as the rope goes. When in actuality, he's just being kind of a dick. The whole time, by the way. God, it's just like gaslighting, worst friend ever. And, but, there's some bright spots. Like, he does have, he meets Nasha, who's like the head cop or like the security officer on the ship, and she takes a liking to him. And, it's great that like they have this relationship, especially like when Mickey goes through various copies, like she's not weirded out by that, oddly enough. I thought that was really like kind of sweet. In the sense of like, yeah, they still have uploaded some of his memories, so it's like him, but just kind of changes over time. And she noticed the differences between all the different Mickeys, and even like Mickey 17 remembers the other Mickeys, and it's pretty out of hand. Like it's an interesting concept of having the duplicates and how there's supposed to be no multiples, and it's like the ethics around cloning and the ethics around scanning people's brain and what true death is. I like that. Like it was a very cool way to like. It reminded me a little bit of like Altered Carbon, but instead of uploading your consciousness into a chip, it's just like keeping a brain scan and then just uploading that scan into a new body made from everyone's crap.
Yeah, made from goop.
Goop, yeah. We're gonna put
sauce
Mickey out of the goop again, and the sauce. Yeah. So yeah. There are a lot of fun stuff I like. I'll again bring it back to the panel. What were some of your favorite moments in the movie?
I liked where, or I like the whole montage.
Yeah,
where
the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, like them
it's
just
like the first 30 or 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, just experimenting everything on him.
Oh my god, poor guy.
That's what he's used for. And when they first arrive on the planet, there's this virus in the air. So his job is to go out there, breathe it in, so that they can get a sample, and then develop a vaccine for it. And then part of that montage was him dying like a few times and puking up
horrible deaths. Oh my god.
Just to get a sample, make vaccines, and eventually they did it. But they wasted how many Mickeys doing that? Like 10, probably.
Yeah, they went through like a good chunk of them, like a good 8 of them or something through that. How wild? Go ahead, Danny.
I was gonna say, and then every time they print him, the guy's not even paying attention, and he's just like just dangling off the machine.
His body just flops to the floor. Oh my god!
Forgetting to put that table there.
That was so bad. Like I'm watching this with Anthony, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna make him drop. No.
I liked the part of the printing the body that like it seemed like it was done, but then it would like pull him back in for like one last print and then shoot him back out, and it was just funny. It was like a little funny gag that they showed every single time.
It's like a bad printer, basically. Like if it's a printer that gets stuck. As they're going through again, I like the I love the tone of the movie. Like overall, like I'll say is like it's like it balances a lot of like the kind of like bit of like zaniness with a bit of like serious tone at the same time of just like, hey, like there's some like it's kind of tragic that this guy signed up to do all this stuff, but also like the circumstances and the characters react with such a level of like just normalcy around it, or just like, oh, it's time, Mickey, like, hey, like, it's like, there he is, like, that's the resident expendable. And like the times where the science team are like, hey, we need you to go outside and turn off this valve or whatever, that he gets out there like, hey, the valve's already here. And he's like, yeah, we know that, so what we actually want you to do is stay out there and absorb the cosmic radiation. It's gonna suck, but you need you to stay out there because we're gonna take all the data for science. And like the whole science, like half like the main science officers kind of like awkwardly like, oh, sorry. And like the second in command, I forget her name, is like Dorothy. She's just kind of like feeling bad about the whole thing. And you have like the third guy is the guy who's always like having to catch him out of the print. And it's just like other jobs where he's out there fixing something and his hand gets knocked off. Like, that was nuts. And yeah, or like the
they tell him like, oh, I want you to take off your gloves so I can see what's happening to your skin. And then as he's trying to take it off, then yeah,
it's just like, and what's crazy is like, again, Mickey's just like, yeah, I guess so, okay, like, this is the job. Like, it's so wild that he just kind of like was able to just take this in, like, yep, that's my job, I'm gonna die now. Like, even in the beginning of the movie, like, you could tell he's just like, I'm cut, I'm not feeling too hot, and whatever, I guess. Like, here it is. And that kind of like sets up the tone of like how he's on Earth, and it's like really crappy, like from a political standpoint. Like the spaceport is like ravaged by a crazy like windstorm or something, and it tells like things on Earth aren't the greatest, so they're like, yeah, colony, why not? And so to avoid this basic debt collector that wants to like cut him up with a chainsaw, he goes into space.
And then somehow there's a guy on board that's like,
we put someone on there. Yeah, we left the goon there that's like, give up a year. I don't know. He's just like, give up 3 years to go collect it. I was like, dude, what? Like,
ridiculous.
That was like, that's hateful. Like, that's such a level of hate that like is so funny. And then then the main twist of the movie comes out. It's just like, oh, there's like these. Well, not main twist, is that, the main point of the movie is there is another Mickey that gets printed out, and they both are sentient, they both have brains, and like, I love that whole point where they're just like near the furnace, and they're just like trying to kill each other, like Mickey 17 Part 2, like almost did like a Batman kind of thing, or just like, I have to kill you, like he's just trying to throw him down. They're like, no, don't do it, come on, like, why? And then it's just like, he's like, I'm too old to. One of the logic is like, I'm too old to die. It's like, oh, I haven't even yet lived, so it's just like, who gets priority? Like, I loved it. Like, it's just like, dude, what? Like, their whole bickering and arguing was just perfect. What was the drug that Timo was peddling? It was basically like a fuel cell thing. It's like, yeah, but it's just like it's undiluted, so it's like the good stuff that people are just getting high off of. And that's how he's kind of like making his living on the side. But then, there's the whole thing of like life on the colony isn't really a thing. I know I'm jumping from different plot points, but it's like, it's just there's just a lot of like little things where just Mickey just kind of finds himself like stuck in, but still trying to just like gutting through all of it so he can just go back and hang with Nasha, which I thought it's sweet because of like his voice on top of like the narration with everything. It really sells the whole point home.
Trying to look up the name of the drug again, but I forgot.
Yeah, me too.
It wasn't spice.
It was not spice. That's correct. Yeah, it absolutely was not spice.
Yeah, I don't see it here, but yeah, it's like it was like oxy something.
Not sauce.
It wasn't.
And it wasn't a sauce. That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, that is freaking hilarious. At the same time, like I think there's like a bit of like some of the stuff with like Okja in this too, or like kind of like it reminded me a little bit of Okja when you had like the creeper life forms that were on the planet that ended up actually helping. Yeah, like they call them creepers just because they're creepy, but stop judging a book by its cover because it turns out they're sentient and nice. And that was a whole thing that they're just like, yeah, you did it. Uh, it's just all this like weird like calamity of like situational hilarity while trying to balance Mickey number 18 or 17 too and Mickey 18 to try to like you know they have to like rotate duties and like hey, you do this one death, I'll do the odd even death. It's like even death and odd. It's just like becoming a game of multiples, like how they're rationalizing the whole thing. Like again, it's so absurd, but also like a bit more uh in science fiction than before. Pretty hilarious.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
like how
looking-
he had like a completely different personality. He almost sounded like his Batman character. So again, using a different voice for a different version of himself. And the special effects were very well done. I don't know how they did the scenes where they were both together, like right next to each other. I know how they
I was
used to
very
used to
impressed.
do
I was
that.
very-
Kind of like the same how we were talking about Dr. Robotnik with Jim Carrey's character in the Sonic movie. How there was like two of them. It's like I don't know how they're doing this now in movies, but they seem to have it down, and
Yeah.
it looks very convincing. Like I don't know, I can't tell that it's if it's just like another person and they face swap with CGI, or if he just does acts twice and they film it separately and they somehow match it perfectly in the same setting. I don't know how they do it, but it looked very good.
I feel like for a couple of the scenes where they were standing next to each other but not touching each other, like one grabbing the other or anything like that, I feel like uh that was more of a
Like the
uh
easier, like just
like
cutting.
they shot it twice and then cut it together. What's the word? Um, they stitched them together, and did that because like when they first like see each other, that where he goes to lay down in the bed and then 18 like sits up. 17 was not looking directly at him. Like I could tell his eyes were not looking at him. So that seems like they just comped the shots together. But then other stuff where they're like later on in the movie outside in the snow, that looked more like maybe like face swapping, but I'm not too sure. Or maybe
Yeah,
not.
because
Maybe not
it's
this
hard
all.
because like again, like I get credit to Robert Pattinson because there's a lot of like physical acting involved in it. So like Anthony said, like there's like Mickey 18 is like he's
Much
he's definitely a go getter.
much angrier.
Borderline, yeah, but definitely angrier. Borderline, he's not sociopathic because he's definitely like, hey, I want to live. Like I have feelings too, but like he's just again more of a go getter and pretty angry about it, and it's just kind of brings it into the whole like how like 18 gets to hang out with Nasha and do all the funny positions that they made up. I forgot that like the catch the baby and all the different sexy time positions. So he's like lamenting that, but then 17 has to go and have a dinner with Marshall and Ilfa, his wife, and it's like, yeah, have this food. Yeah, it's beef. It's great. And it turns out it's like replicated like garbage that's basically like all borderline poisonous, but he's still plowing through like, yep, I'm gonna survive it because I don't want to die. Like, nope, it's painful, but I can live through it. Thanks. And all of it was basically just like a science experiment. And they're just like, yeah, we're gonna kill him. But wait, no, not the carpet. And I was just like, oh, come on. Like again, like this the kind of showed more and more that the marshals are basically big running douchebags. And like everything's being done for like uh like
Just
like
for show.
for show photo ops. Like he has a nighttime talk show which is pretty random, but it's also the only station and channel that you have.
Yeah.
And then like during the like snow
It was almost like
expedition,
a televangelist show.
yeah. And then like his what was the name of the guy? The Preston. Yeah, he was the guy like taking all the like the video and like conceptualizing like this is how it's gonna look for the church and all of this here. And it's just like, dude, you're insane. Like these guys are nuts. But like it's almost like were people there like just real like a lot of them were supporters, but then some of them were just like, nah, I need to get the hell out of here. Like it's just different, a different chance to just get off of Earth. But the whole thing, like, who was it that one of the expedition people like died, and they're like, no, how did she die? Because it was a female and whatever. We had to propagate the species and all this other stuff, and then basically like what was her name? I think Kai was like one of the other one. Her partner had died, but then she's like bonding with Mickey, and then her and Nasha find out that there's two Mickeys, and they're like, okay, well, I won't rat him out, but if you give me the older Mickey, like there's like they're trying to barter with the Mickeys, and they're both like, what the hell's going on? Like even like out of their own like how they were bartering. Now you have Nasha trying to like rationalize it, even though there's a whole like multiples rules. It was cool because like I thought the segue to the multiples with the serial killer guy, like, oh, you can't have multiples because this is why, was like I thought at first it was going to be very distracting, but it's actually, to me, it laid up a really good like segue into
why they don't
do it. At the same time, like you have like Kenneth Marshall again, who was like he was a politician that like they're just but still like talking about, yeah, see, we can't replace the multiples, and but we need this technology anyway because it's going to lead us to new worlds. And it was like again it was a great way to showcase more of the character, how like his ulterior motives are just really like to use and abuse anyone around just to make sure he creates a new colony with him in charge, and at the same time his wife can make sauces. Good lord. Yeah. And basically, and she was the one in control of everybody else too. Like in control of her husband. Like she would point him in the direction. Pretty out of hand.
Yeah, that to me, that section of the movie, I felt like could have been trimmed down a little bit. It seemed like, I don't know, I just felt like they were including like too much stuff and like cramming it together when they just kind of revealed that like, oh hey, now there's two of them, and now there's like all this craziness going on within the ship. Who was the other character that they tried making like a love interest to Mickey 17? What was her name?
Kai.
Yeah, I felt like they tried making her love interest, and then it just gets dropped by the last.
Like it just disappears.
Yeah, the last 20
Yeah.
30 minutes of the movie, like nothing happens. I think they only show her one more time for the rest of the movie. So I don't know if they made a lot of cuts to make this movie shorter, but yeah, it felt a little off, and that was like one of the things that to me it seemed like by a certain point in the movie things got a little rushed to just like try to put in a little bow to get to the end, to like get to the end portion where they're trying to deal with the creepers.
Got it.
But going back to other things we liked, I like how the movie looked. The movie looked great.
Yeah, it was shot, and the scenes were composed really well. Like even like him going up and downstairs, like you got a feel for like the ship, a feel for the planet, like the odd jobs that Mickey was in, like the way they would frame Mickey like in particular situations, especially like in the one scene where like in one of the deaths, like Nasha was just in a suit to still like console Mickey while they're like, yeah, he like the scientists are kind of being douches and like celebrating the fact that they have a cure, but meanwhile he's dying. So she's like, like that was like a nice moment. And it was shot really well. Like, the camera panning over to like, hey, this is what was actually happening in the pod. Like that was really cool. Like it was a good way to kind of humanize it and kind of like, again, tie into the point of just like, yeah, he's expendable, but no one's really, like it truly, I don't think anyone truly is expendable. It's like kind of what I got from the movie, because everybody has their value and something they bring to the table, even if they, owe people a shit ton of money. Except for Timo. Timo is a dick, but he still survived. But Steve Yeun does that Steven Yeun does that so well. Like he can like really play that like at first, like again, like how he tries to manipulate Mickey into some things. Like you can kind of like, oh, okay, I can do it, but then it's like, oh wait, no, you're kind of a dick again. Like, stop
And
doing that.
he was always getting like promoted somehow.
Yeah, like, oh, I fly ships now. It's like, how did you do this? Like, did you just put sad puppy dog eyes? Like, did you just sob story your way out of it? Like, and then poor Mickey has to sign up as a freaking expendable because he doesn't have skills or whatever. Like, that's messed up. And like, even the point where it's just like, oh, like, I need you to take one for the team, like, because that way we can serve up a death. He's like, oh, I need to chop you up to show the guy so he doesn't come after me. And like I was like, dude, for real? Like that whole scene where they're stuck in jail, but he's like, no, I'm gonna kill one of you guys just so I can like not get killed by the loan shark. Like that whole sequence was hilarious. And then like just how they ended up getting out of it in the end, like angry Mickey like knocks him out. It was done really well. They didn't, but it's still like mercy. They didn't kill him. I think
the creepers looked good too. They were a little creepy, but oddly cute at the same time.
Yeah, I think again, like the kid, Bong Joon-ho, like is able to do that with like things. Like it kind of make like things that shouldn't be lovable, like kind of make them lovable. Whether if it's like CGI creatures, people, sometimes. Like I think like it's just the way the direction works in his films, like really allow for that. And it was cool to see like how because he made funny noises that turned into a translator, like and that was
that was another like
that was a jump.
This doctor, she's probably one of the smartest doctors there, and she hears him say one thing. She's like, "Oh, you just said this in their language. I'm gonna go make a translator." I was like, "What? How far in the future is this?"
I mean, if far enough, or like Earth's is not great, and they have interstellar travel, so maybe more so than anything. But
even still, that was a huge jump, considering she didn't really hear the creatures speak themselves.
did they only hear it from like maybe the whatchamacallit, the when they started surrounding the ship and then making a lot of the noise?
I think it was more of when they captured the small one after I think they shot it, and then they had it like in a they had it like in captivity, and so while it was like screeching, and I think Mickey 17 was trying to talk to it or console it by just saying random things, but it just seemed like he was saying random things. I don't think he was actually trying to speak their language. And then she made it sound like, oh no, you were speaking their language. I can try to figure this out.
It was like 3 seconds where they figured it out.
Yeah. And then like 2 scenes later, oh, here's the translator.
And then here's an upgraded one.
Yeah, and then it goes in place.
Like, you could chalk it up to like the rest of the movie being kind of goofy like that, but yeah, that was to me like a pretty big stretch.
I can see that. Yeah, that could be a bit of a thing. I don't like. I think the movie sold me enough that I can kind of buy into it, considering like they're able to replicate cures out of like various versions of Mickey's dying, and they're already in space.
That part is cool. Yeah,
it's cool and sad at the same time. Like, yeah, a lot of the stuff is kind of like, again, like it's sad, but also kind of like funny because of how others are reacting to it. But then it's a kind of like this dark levity to it all, and this whole thing where like I think like we're just able to kind of balance the tones, like I said before, really well. Any other moments, or I thought some of the parts that were like kind of like sad to me was like where the one of the creepers, he actually has a name. It's like Zoko, like they like cut his tail or whatever just to make a sauce. Like, dude, that was messed up.
And then she would like put it in a blender. Oh, that was nasty.
Yeah, I was like, dude,
and then she gave it to this random guy.
Taste it. Yeah, I was like, what the hell, lady? Like, what? Yeah, Ilfa was pretty. Like, they were both just very terrible people. Like, just incredible, just incredibly bad.
Every time Mark Ruffalo spoke in this movie, I just got triggered.
I hated
the way he spoke.
Oh, it's just like it's just anger. Like it just
Yeah.
like awakened. I want to punch this guy in the face
Yeah.
feelings. Damn, that's acting. He did his
Yeah, it
job.
was good. It was good. And then he had like some prosthetic or something. I don't know. It was weird.
I
I
want to
think
say
it
it's
was just
something
the
with his
teeth.
teeth.
Yeah, he definitely had fake
Yeah, like the
teeth.
teeth and maybe like the cheek, I guess, because of the teeth, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, dude, it was something, but it was freaking great.
Them two were they I'm sure they were told like, hey, go as crazy as you want and be in a different movie because they're completely different than everybody else. But it was still fun and wacky.
Yeah, it was like wacky, but still, yeah, like it's wacky a little, but also sinister, like you said. Like it's
Mhm.
really like there's underlying stuff, or the whole like with Kai's, it's like, oh, we'll make a pure snow racer, like guy, like that's where we went. Okay, like that's what we're trying to do in here. Like we're trying to make eugenics and crap. But it's cool to see that like in the end there was a way to like they're trying to coexist with the creepers, and it's funny how you find out the creepers were bluffing. They're just like, nah, we're just gonna tell you like it's like
Oh
we
yeah,
had the
at the
streaks to
end.
kill you. Now we're just bluffing. I was like, what? Okay, cool. It's not just a human trait alone. Like it's again more like finding things in common between the races. Pretty cool. Um, and then like again, like also after the assassination attempt by 18, how like he got cut in the on the cheek or whatever. That's how you can tell now the differences between 17 and 18. I thought that was also a clever way to continue showing like who's who without having to go off of the the marker, or what was it, lipstick that Nasha had put on both of them, which by now had faded away. But I then that's how like they came up with the plan to rescue the kid, the small creeper, while trying to like fake out where the leader was. I thought that was really cool too. Like that was a fun little like interesting thing. Even though like that's where like the movie to me felt like, oh, now we're going to like super serious, like high stakes, like this is it kind of moment where like all this is getting super serious, and there's
Fate of
like rocket
humanity.
launchers and stuff. Yeah, the fate of this colony hangs in the balance of the Mickeys get working through it and blowing this dude up,
And
which
then
again
and
was
then
spectacular.
the secret group of people that wanted to like overthrow like the people that are like, oh, start recording with your glasses. Like came out of nowhere. Like that's another thing. I was like,
Like the
what?
security team.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden we think this guy's fishy. Start recording.
Right now, just
Yeah,
just only right now.
yeah. He didn't throw you off years ago. Just now.
Yeah, it's only now when it's like yeah. I mean, like it. To be fair, like the um, like you could probably excuse the calories and the whole like kind of this stuff, but
The
like
calories.
yeah, like the ration calorie, you're above your calorie goal. Like you need to
By
give
like
that back.
3 calories. Yeah, put it back.
Yeah, I said put that back. I was like, damn, dude. Like I loved that. It's just like you messed up. Now you have less food. I was like, but he's your expendable. Like
Yo, he
I
got
get
his
it. Why?
food rations by half, like 3 times.
Yeah, like we're having your food rations. Like, and that was like Marshall's like whole like rail against it. Like you let this everyone die. You got half your rations. How dare you, expendable? Like it's so again goofy, but like also messed up, man.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then it's just like, oh, gotta save the baby. Gotta bring the baby over back to, I guess, the mom. I don't know if it was the mom or the
Oh,
dad. I don't think they
mm.
really said.
It's really
But
more like the creeper's leader. Like they kind
yeah,
of just says that their leader.
Because that was like the biggest one. No.
yeah. I like
Yeah,
how all the other ones would like crawl on each other and just make huge mounds to like
Throw them off. Yeah, that was
throw them off of
interesting.
to not get the actual leader.
yeah, that was fun, especially like at the same time, like Marshall's trying to like make this whole like grandiose, iconic movie moment, for his church or whatever, and it's like, oh, oops, never mind. They're psyching us out because they're intelligent and not, savage or whatever the heck they kept thinking. So, um, then like that was the whole like, oh, gotta take a life for a life because the other creeper was shot. Then which again was kind of sad still too. So like, they were able to switch it up. Mickey 18, makes the ultimate call, even though he was, the younger one. He decided to be the go-getter and use his bomb to take out Marshall, and then that created the peace at the end. And then that afterwards, they kind of are settled in the colony. His wife commits suicide in a psychiatric ward because she went crazy. But I really liked, like, while they were kind of settling everything in, and Nasha becomes sort of like an elected official in the colony, how like Mickey was like kind of dreaming. It's still like a weird like dream of guilt, just like, oh man, like this is still like this whole thing where like he's dreaming that Marshall was printed out again, and his consciousness is coming back, and Ilfa was like kind of again, it was like a creepy, almost realistic dream sequence, but I thought it was still pretty effective because it still kind of like had this like lingering kind of like doubt or kind of like uncertainty within Mickey, especially now that like the printing machine is like going to be symbolically destroyed, so there's no real expendable, like to take treat everybody on the colony as important, in the sense that you're not just going to be thrown out there to die. But yeah, I don't know what you guys thought about that last sequence. I thought it was not super trippy, but a little trippy. But I'd like to hear what you guys thought.
Which part? Sorry.
His like little dream sequence.
His little dream when like
when
he's
like
to
realizing that like, oh, like I'm finally like the only one. I can't be any more of me because they're about to destroy the machine.
Yeah,
and then he kind of has like he kind of has a dream where back in the lab where he gets printed, and then Marshall's wife is there, and then for a second you think like, oh wait, I thought they said that she killed herself.
Yeah,
and you think that she's still alive, but no, it's just like a weird dream sequence of his.
At first I don't know why I thought it wasn't a dream. I thought it was something that actually happened. I
thought she was printed again, like just somewhere later on, like she was still there,
and that they still had like a printing machine. Okay.
Yeah, and then
they were just using her sauce to print her out.
Oh my god!
Because then
the sauces were actually her DNA coding that they used.
Oh my god!
No,
that'd be disgusting.
Definitely
not. Because and then it wasn't until the blood started pouring down her arm I was like, oh, okay, so it's not real. Because again, like the way because was it him that said it probably that but
yeah, he did.
You were dead yesterday. Or something like that, like you were dead yesterday, or you died.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Exactly. Like you killed yourself yesterday. And he's like, wait, what? And so, then he sees like Marshall getting printed out again, and he's like, what the hell? Like, how did this happen? And then he wakes up again, like, oh wait, that's my cue. I have to blow up the cloning device. Which again was cool because it's kind of like, yeah, like that was a good point. Like realizing, hey, I am the last one. Like it's me now, and everything I went through is worth it for this, because now he gets to, press the button to blow it up. Which again, I thought and
then with the callback of like why he, like, I guess like the way he killed his parents was by pressing the button and dealing with that.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, because he had that whole thing with his mom, and like, he's like, oh, a lot of times, like, what was it like? Oh, like you have a like certain, like when they were imprinting his mind, like there's a lot of like scary dreams and stuff, or like when you have to take your memories again, you live through a lot of stuff. So like again, like more of the tragic, like kind of things that kind of psychological stuff that Mickey has to go through. Like the physical stuff is like, okay, I like die, reprint it, do it over again. But like also you got to load your brain up, and then some of the memories stay really vivid, and like you have to relive like the really bad stuff, so you kind of can just continue on, not have to suffer through that again.
I want to make a side note about like the moments that he talks about his mom, because that one part where they show him as a kid and his mom is carrying him to like the store or whatever it was,
Looked like the girl from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I thought that for a little bit. I was like, oh, it's like the same red hair, and he was saying how like the smell of the shampoo or the shampoo of her hair, or whatever, was like familiar. I was like, are they gonna reveal at some point that I don't know
He copied his mom,
or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That would have been.
I would have thought.
I know during the movie, Zach looked, or like I looked at Zach, and Zach was like, "Oh, that looks like the mom."
Yeah, it was very strange, and they didn't touch upon that at all.
Unless
Yeah.
maybe there was something later that got cut.
No, they definitely
mean-
cut. They definitely cut stuff out.
I think, well, if it's any consolation, like in the credits, like she's not like the actress who played the head recruiter for the program that talked about, hey, you're inexpensible. Like, it's not credited as also as Mickey's mom, at least not from what I'm seeing. So unless it's like an uncredited role, but at least the things I'm looking for, I was like, okay, no, that's not it. But
Good old Mickey Barnes.
yeah, and at the end, instead of he's in Mickey 17, he gets back to being Mickey Barnes. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really nice. I was like, oh, good. Like he got his sort of like at the end of it all, he gets his humanity back, even though, he's being treated as less than, especially with the fact that he's a copy. There's all the psychological things like, are you really you? And a lot of those really deep questions are kind of asked throughout the film too, like whether
They
it's
kept asking him like, "What is it like to die?" Right?
Oh yeah, every time like people ask like, oh, like people don't want to ask until like, hey, like the people who are really cool and like Kai's like, hey, like we hang out, we're cool. It's like, hey, I because she lost somebody there recently, like, hey, like because so and so died, like I want to know what it's like, because that's kind of one of like the great mysteries of life really is death. And so going through it again, there's so many like like I remember watching the movie and just like in my head, just like so many wild like thoughts going through it, like, and how like if this were like to really be like a case happening, it's just like, dude, like that would be like nuts, like just like conceptually, and then like philosophically, and then ethically, morally, like it's just like this is a fun way to kind of ask those questions, like in a movie like this, having the different plot points in two, but then also like, hey, like this is a fun platform to ask those questions.
Yeah, I feel like at least for me, it's like a tale of two movies where I definitely like the first like half better than the last half, because it just seemed like we mentioned earlier, like they probably cut a bunch of stuff out and then tried to jumble it and just get to the finish line. I felt like the back half of the movie was kind of rushed.
As a result, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about it. Like it ended not the way I expected it to happen. But probably not because it was rushed, or I didn't feel like it was rushed. It just felt like that
Just went in a
whole
different direction.
and it felt very tidy, I guess.
Well, because
Maybe,
I
but-
told Danny yesterday after we watched it, saying that that on one hand I did expect for them to try to kill the guy, to kill Mark Ruffalo's character, but not with the creepers involved in any way.
You thought,
Like,
is this
I
going to happen
didn't
through the
expect-
assassination attempt?
Something
Yeah,
like that.
like I thought maybe that they were gonna try to get out of custody and like try to run and hide throughout the ship or whatever, and then try to find their way back to then try to take him out or something, but not the whole thing about trying to return, or no, sorry, being sent out into the snow with all the creepers, and then trying to like cut off as many tails as possible to bring back to the chick, and then they talk to the queen or the king creeper, and then try to give the child back. Like I didn't expect any of that stuff at all.
Yeah, how that came in afterwards. Yeah,
Yeah, it felt like it was just like, okay, here, let's shift this tone of the movie to this now for like the last half hour.
Especially since like the first half kind of like you're already, I guess, trying to go with what they're explaining and like grounding yourself with that. And then it just does this shift of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it shifts of just like, hey, like here's this like, kind of really bigger than it's kind of like a bigger in scope kind of moment, but like I don't know, I think like it was already big in scope because you're like taking a big old group of humans and you are uh breaking them out through like a like through interstellar travel to colonize a planet. Like that was already a kind of a big thing. So having sentient, aliens in there too is kind of like okay, like this is sci-fi because we've already established a couple stuff that's already kind of pretty out there too. But again, that's just me. With that being said, I think I guess I can kind of bring up what would be some of like our final thoughts, where like what we thought about the film overall. We already mentioned like most of the things we liked. Some stuff at the end with the pacings bit, but like the overall tone, the acting is stellar. It's shot really well.
Interstellar.
Oh, they did go Interstellar.
The acting.
Yeah,
God.
and like it's interesting because I don't know if we get like other than like The Martian and like Ad Astra, it's like you know it's not like a franchise sci-fi film. Like I'd like seeing more of these, but I think it might be becoming harder and harder to sell the idea of that to people. There's got to be maybe some other type of like hook or something that gets people in, but. Which I thought this movie would have been like the concept of the cloning and Robert Pattinson, which to me that's like enough of a concept to go and to watch this dude act the hell out of this movie. Like he's so damn good in this.
I think you can make more of these type of movies, just not spend so much money. Kind of like The Creator. How much was The Creator again? Like 70, 80 million or something like that?
I think so. I know Danny knows this.
But like they can make more movies like this, more like original or semi-original sci-fi stories,
The
but like
creator budget was 80 million.
if you can make them sub 100 million, then like they might actually make their budget back. You might actually make a profit. And then when that happens, then they will tend to want to make more because that's how they see it. Hey, it made money. People must like these. Let's keep making them, and I'll give you 70 million for it. But yeah, I mean, so I just think hopefully they producers will still like to do these, and hopefully they're smarter with their money and to not shell out so much.
Yeah, and even so, like maybe there's the because of it, like oh maybe it doesn't make as much in a movie. There is a an urge to maybe make this a TV movie or TV miniseries. Like I
Right.
don't think you'd have to make that knee jerk reaction to go that route too. I think you could still do this in a concise movie form. Like it's definitely possible.
I mean, there are those people that complain like, "Oh, there's everything's a sequel. There's nothing original." It's like, well, there's this one, and I think the past couple of weeks there's been original movies that have been out and they haven't made any money. So it's kind of like,
Yeah, like
are you really doing what you're saying? Because it seems like people aren't going to the theater to watch these original movies.
unless
Uh,
it's actually those big franchises that they know.
right,
And
which is the trouble, which is the trouble with the movie industry. It seems like people kind of just want to wait for the big thing, and they just would rather wait for streaming, which is the trouble with streaming, kind of affecting the theater business. So yeah, it's
This cinema
it'll
business.
be yeah it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future, but hopefully they continue to make more movies like this, and it probably has to take kind of high profile directors like Bong Joon-ho to do it, because if it was just some other director who's like not a top 5 director in the industry, they wouldn't give them this movie with this budget. But because this guy won an
One
Oscar
best picture,
for Best
yeah.
Picture, like sure, we'll give you the money. You want to do this wacky idea? Sounds cool. We'll give you the money, but most other directors wouldn't get this chance to do a movie like this. So
And even so, like yeah, like given the fact that yeah, like maybe it doesn't make money, but it's like it's one of those where like it's the idea concept of like does the movie always have to make money for it to be like objectively good, or can it suffer from things like marketing or like kind of like how the or how the movie is presented to people, like to get people excited, like what's the thing that's supposed to hook you
I mean,
into the film.
there's plenty of good movies that don't make money. I mean, most of
Exactly,
the
yeah.
Oscar movies,
And
especially this
plenty
past
of
Oscars, they barely a lot of those movies didn't make much money. Nora won Best Picture, and
It's
it
an
barely
indie
made any
film
money. Yeah,
basically,
it's an indie
yeah.
film. Barely made any money. Not many people watched it. It's on Hulu now if you're interested in watching it. But yeah, I mean, uh,
And then there's
I
plenty of terrible movies that make so much money for nothing.
Oh my God, Fast and Furious 9.
yeah, 9. I was about to say, I'm like, whoa. We're not talking about
9.
Fast 5 over here. I mean,
No, man, we're talking about 9.
Just
John
9.
Cena and magnets. Anyway, any other final thoughts? Some like big takeaways that you guys got out of Mickey 17?
we usually talk about score, but I didn't really notice the score too much in this movie, so I don't even really remember it. So I can't really say much about it, other than there was a score there.
Yeah, there was background music, is what he
Yeah.
was saying. There was also some license like stuff in there too. But
Mhm.
if you want to know,
I mean,
music,
uh,
music was Jung Jae-il. He's done stuff for. He actually's done the music for Squid Game.
Okay.
ooh,
Yeah,
Well,
and for Parasite. So he's a frequent collaborator with Bong Joon Ho.
nice.
Yeah.
I did like, I did think the movie was pretty funny though. Like I was laughing a good amount of times.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, there's great like funny moments in it, and a lot of them came from it's like between Mickey, so Robert Pattinson again, like being able to sell the absurdity of the moment, but a lot of the funny moments again also came from Mark Ruffalo, but also Steven Yeun. Like Steven Yeun, you're just like dude,
like
like
everyone had
laughing
their
at the fact that
moment.
he's such a dick. Yeah, like you said, everybody had their moment, right?
Yeah, I think everyone had their moment to do something like funny, not like purposely be funny, but just the way they did certain things. You're just like, oh, okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and with when having two Mickeys, he had doubled the comedy, especially like stuff with himself. Oh man, that's too good.
I did like the Mickey 17, Mickey 18, like back and forth banter. That was fun.
Yeah, it's great. It's almost like having a. It was almost like having a conversation with yourself. It was pretty cool. I thought that was a fun little way to kind of like bring it out, make that happen. So it was really cool. Anyone else? Zach, Anthony?
No, I mean, I think I
no,
said
that's
my
good.
piece. Yeah, like it
Uh,
was fun movie. Like I said, I liked the first half a lot better. I felt like the comedy that you guys were talking about was mainly in the first half. Some of it was in the second half. Um, yeah, I would recommend it to people, but I would also see how, not everybody would like this type of movie. And there's people that just don't like sci-fi movies in general. So, but I think all four of us do, and seemed like we all had a similar reaction to it. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Hopefully, more people go see it.
I give it
But
4 out of 5 Mickeys.
it may not be in theaters for much longer. So
Yeah, Warner Brothers might just kick it to streaming, which I hope they don't. Give some stuff going on, but April is when things are gonna start happening, if I'm not mistaken. So, a little bit of extra time. There's some other movies out there that are kind of giving this one a bit of a, some it's drawing its attention away. But yeah, if you take it from us, it's definitely worth a watch. It's a great premise, a great vehicle to showcase Robert Pattinson just being a killer actor, continuing to kill the game, showcasing live action voice acting skills, which I'm always appreciative for. And yeah, it's just really it's a really good movie. I mean, I found it. It's a solid movie. Continuing showcasing some of Bong Joon Ho's strengths as a director and being able to tell a story in a way that juggles various tones really well. Damn, that was pretty good, right? That's a good extrapolation. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. No one say anything else at all.
We were just like, damn, you got it. All right.
That's it.
That's
Game over, guys. Game over. No, the game is not over. We're going to be back next time with another new episode with the four of us talking, chatting away, expressing, sometimes debating various opinions on what we got next time. So if you liked what you heard, and if you also saw Mickey 17 and liked it, please reach out to us on our socials, the various platforms. Leave a comment and continue to rate us if you like this format on your podcast platform of choice, or if you're listening to the audio streams on YouTube. Again, thank you so much for that. And until next time, keep that popcorn fresh and ready. Catch you next time.
Later, guys.
Ta-ta for now. Mickey.